Foreword. The book contains a chain of thoughts of how science and the existence of 4 million believers may be reconciled, in hope that scientists do not put the book aside. My hope is that scientists read this book until it appears diffuse to them. Even if only one scientist reads the book to the last page, the book would have served its purpose. From the chemistry we know that there may be two highly toxic substances that will connect to a substance which is very healthy for humans. The dialogue between science and theology is very contrary. Science seems annoyed by theology, while theology often neglects the results of science. If someone came along who shows conclusively that the fact that billion people believe in something divine proves the results of science, then I would find it personally very interesting. I dedicate myself to this task, and I hope to inspire those people who are more intelligent, smarter and more scientific than I am. Copyright 2015. Universe. From something. Introduction. Science has a great property, the self-doubt. When science develops new results and any interpretation contradicts these results, the interpretation will be discarded immediately and a new view on things has to be found. That makes science so charming. The religions that bring a lot of positive sentiment in our world have a different nature. They must constantly adjust their view on the world and the universe, and bring their literary works in line with the current knowledge that is on the basis of scientific results. Scientists often seem annoyed when they hear the word God. At least they do not want to discuss scientifically the word God. That's why many physicists maintain that physics simply has no competence when it comes to God's meaning. If it is so, that more than half the world's population lives in faith, there are approximately 4 billion people who are somehow a believer. Billions of people who live in faith are a fact, and because these people are made of flesh and blood, as a physical being, the existence of love towards the divine will has to be treated scientifically, regardless of whether there may be a God or not. Though not issue of the physics, then at least something like anthropology ought to discuss the theme. Lawrence Krauss is one of my favorite scientists. On the internet you can listen to dozens of scientific papers of him. An average person like me has got a chance to take a look at latest scientific results, and the scientists formulate them so that a person like me can understand them pretty well. Scientific lectures inspire. Since it is not so now that I've read a lot of books, not dozens of philosophical or scientific books and dissertations, Lawrence Krauss has a much higher knowledge than me for sure. Having an outstanding knowledge is a great advantage, but it may be that if someone knows a lot, he is also very coined. That means that he may not really question what he has learned before. If somebody is rather dumb such as me, he will rather look on things like a virgin, who has not made experiences before. When Lawrence Krauss explains to me in a YouTube coverage that the universe is something like a flat universe, so that it neither collapses nor will extend infinitely far, then he lets me participate in something that required so much labor and ingenuity. He lifts my knowledge from zero to hero. Without that I would have understood that it required to weigh the universe to come to this conclusion, which is indeed a sensation. This Lawrence Krauss tells me the obvious assumption in announcing the pending evidence of a universe that arose from nothing. I have understood it that way, that a universe came out of nothing, but according to the rules of quantum physics it developed, step by step, and ended up in the state as it is today. Perhaps it was so, that a small particle arose out of nothing, then caused something like antimatter, and then everything took its course. I swallowed this statement of the Lawrence Krauss. The idea that something arises out of nothing seems unusual. But the way he said it, it was also plausible. From classical literature we know the motif of the tragedy. A tragic stage play always contains a situation that someone wants to reach an aim, but exactly causes the opposite. For example, if someone buys a new computer, he searches immediately for an antivirus software on the internet, then he downloads and installs it, but at the same time the antivirus software just carries the virus that was supposed to be avoided. This is a tragic motif, transferred to today's world. So this Lawrence Krauss uses his knowledge and ingenuity to prove that it is so, that the universe was created from nothing. So many times he has been right before, that is with the assumption that the universe is flat. Lawrence Krauss offers evidence for a universe from nothing that developed according to the rules of quantum physics. And now we write the phrase exactly on the board, at least in our minds, something arises out of nothing according to the rules of quantum physics. Dear students, do you notice something? Of course, students do not notice anything, because they have already read 300 pages of Lawrence Krauss, and they completely swallowed the universe from nothing. If the system universe arises from nothing, that may well be possible. If all developed from nothing, according to the rules of quantum physics, where were the rules of quantum physics? The rules of quantum physics must have existed before this nothing. Otherwise, at least I would not understand it. Can a rule be existent without being manifested in matter? At least we would have to take a closer look on the word existence. The more Lawrence Krauss proves that there was a universe from nothing, the more it turns out that he exactly proves the contrary, because the rules of quantum physics must have been existent. I definitely will not swallow the story that the rules of quantum physics emerged simultaneously from nothing. Maybe Lawrence Krauss will act like a knight in the stage play of Parsifal, becoming aware of his tragic work. The thesis that there is a contradiction that something arises from nothing I sheepishly and self-sufficient call the Zeidler-paradox. The Zeidler-paradox. Formulation of November 13, 2015. Author, Bodo Zeidler. Various scientists claim that the universe arose from nothing and behaved according to the rules of quantum mechanics. It may be expected that one day science will prove this. Exactly the evidence that the universe arose from nothing, according to the rules of quantum mechanics, or to possible other rules, proves a contrario that in the state of nothing the rules of quantum mechanics, or possible other rules, must have been existent. This would make clear that this nothing is solely a part of the system universe, and that independent of this nothing at least a part of the rules must have existed. In this case there must have been an initiating instance, which is not part of the universe and which caused the existence of the rules, and which requires to be named. Introduction to the Zeidler-paradox. The central assumption of this thesis is the absurdity that at the state of nothing from which anything developed, an amount of rules already had existed, regardless of whether it concerns the quantum physics or other rules. There is nothing but rules already exist. And to put it straight, it would be wrong to come up with the phrase of God at this point. It must be our interest to explore the nature of human lives and to find out what the universe is about. Science describes the universe. Science produces incredible, amazing and intelligent results. However, it remains a fact that science shows how the universe works, but does not describe what the universe is about. Science is literally like standing in front of a gorilla cage in a zoo, describing each hair of the gorilla, how long it is, what color it has, not recognizing that the gorilla just thinks, I want to get out of here. The idea that the universe came from nothing is not only represented by Lawrence Krauss. His colleague Stephen W. Hawking shares his opinion when he says, because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. To be honest, I had not studied the scientific results of Lawrence Krauss at that time when I already felt that his idea may be paradox. Something from nothing but caused by an existing set of rules can only lead to a few interpretations. Equality of time. The system universe is regarded as a separate instance, and with the first event of the universe a set of rules came to existence. Neither a set of rules existed before. B. With the course of time, at the beginning of the universe there was nothing, and rules developed step by step with the first event of the universe, such as chemical elements arose step by step and automatically. C. Timelessness or previous existence. Rules were outside of the universe and the universe borrowed them. equality of time would seem like hocus pocus, when the first particles formed itself from nothing and suddenly a rule appeared. And with the course of time? The way science describes the beginning of the universe, obviously many things must have happened during the early days. And if the laws of nature would have developed during the early days, the development of complex processes and complex rules must have taken place simultaneously. The laws must have developed iteratively, according to this assumption. Moreover, if Hawking claims, because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing, this sentence would be wrong. He describes the existence of gravity obviously as something timeless or prior existent, as something everlasting. Each statement of Krauss and Hawking dramatically ends up in a vicious circle. I mean, there is also a law that drunk people use Zalipine next to the toilet, but from such a law no universe arises, at least not in all cases.